There are a number of mysterious locations around the world whose origins are difficult to grasp. For decades, those interested have struggled to make sense of such sites as islands that disappear without a trace or structures left to the forces of nature. Some of these locations are associated with tragic incidents, while others provoke the imagination with hints of paranormal activity or extraterrestrial involvement. Despite technological progress, many of these locations remain a mystery, their accounts incomplete and their secrets hidden. Their strange atmospheres and tales of weird occurrences create a lasting impression. Now let's dive in and try not to get scared by these haunting locations and their backstories. 1. The Overtoun Bridge. Over the last 80 years, the Overtoun Bridge in the small Scottish town of Dumbarton has developed a troubling reputation. Famous for its Gothic architecture and beautiful scenery, the bridge has become infamous for a more tragic reason: dogs inexplicably jumping to their deaths from its parapets. Somewhere between 300 and 600 dogs have thrown their furry, warm bodies off of Scotland's Overtoun Bridge and into a 50-foot gorge, a sad but curious phenomenon that remains unexplained. Although thankfully only 50 or so of these hundreds of dogs have died, these disturbing occurrences have given the bridge what is perhaps the world's most devastating nickname: the Dog Suicide Bridge. Local folklore has inspired a range of theories about the reasons for this happening. Several people believe Overtoun Bridge is a thin place in Celtic tradition, where the separation between the physical and spiritual realms is at its lowest. This has caused speculation that dogs, with their heightened senses, might be attracted to something supernatural on the bridge. Still, a variety of scientific explanations have also been put forward. In 2006, an animal behaviorist studied the phenomenon and proposed that the dogs could be responding to the scent of mink living under the bridge. One dog owner, Lottie McKinnon, recalled one terrifying day 3 years ago when something overcame her dog Bonnie as soon as they approached the bridge. At first she froze, McKinnon told The Times, but then she became possessed by a strange energy and ran and jumped right off the parapet. Also, a philosophy professor and local ghost expert, Paul Owens, who published a book about the phenomenon, said on an interview, "After 11 years of research, I'm convinced it's a ghost that is behind all of this." Locals don't just think the bridge dweller is any old ghost. She is thought to be the grieving widow of first Baron Overtoun, and is better known as the White Lady of Overtoun. Local lore has it that after mourning her dead husband for 30 years and then dying herself, the lady has been hanging out among the living in Dumbarton and has not gone one day unencumbered by grief. Her ghost has been lurking around here ever since, Dumbarton local Marion Murray told The Times. She's been sighted in windows and walking around the grounds. In 1994, local man Kevin Moy threw his baby son to his death from the bridge, claiming he thought the child was the Antichrist. Shortly after, he tried to end his own life with an unsuccessful suicide attempt from the same bridge. Donna Cooper says, "Rumor has it that he was on drugs, but he insisted the place was haunted, and it does seem to have a strange effect on people and dogs." 2. The vanishing of Bermeja. In the Mexican Caribbean, there was once a mysterious island called Bermeja. It fascinated many, including cartographers and explorers. Bermeja's story is like a mystery tale. It was well known on maps for years, but in the mid-20th century it started to disappear, shocking many map makers and geographers, sparking many questions and theories. One theory is that rising sea levels and coastal erosion might have sunk the island. This could happen as the world gets warmer and ice melts, causing the oceans to rise. Others believe natural disasters like storms or landslides might have wiped Bermeja out. These big, sudden events can change maps without leaving much evidence behind. Several people thought it could have been a cartographic error, where a single misrepresentation had been duplicated across generations. By the 1800s, the island's survival was already under scrutiny, and by the early 1900s, Bermeja had primarily slipped from people's minds. The mid-20th century saw a renewed interest in Bermeja, especially during negotiations between Mexico and the United States about oil drilling rights. If Bermeja is found, it will strengthen Mexico's claim in the Gulf, delivering critical economic advantages. It is even common chatter among fishing communities along the coast of the Yucatan that the island was destroyed deliberately to allow the United States to eat into the exclusive economic zone. Yet the layman's whisper has seeped into the political chat at large. In November 2008, 6 senators from the then-governing National Action Party, PAN, raised questions about Isla Bermeja, citing suspicions that the island had been made to vanish deliberately by American powers in order to give the U.S. more leverage in negotiations over marine territory. The question with Bermeja in particular is that it's not just mentioned in cartographic history. Geographer and island specialist Israel Bashin Martinez says, it has a much larger backlog of studies and a presence in the official inventories. Since 2009, there have only been 4 official expeditions to find Bermeja, alongside a handful of journeys by inquiring journalists and the generally curious. Despite these actions, no evidence of Bermeja was discovered, which has led to the idea that the island was a myth from the outset. 3. The Kola Superdeep Borehole. In 1970, the Soviet Union's government started a major scientific project to drill the deepest man-made hole on Earth. The Kola Superdeep Borehole, found near the Russian-Norwegian border, was a research project designed to study the Earth's crust and to reach depths that had never been attempted before. Over 2 decades, scientists drilled to an incredible depth of 40,230 feet, about 7.5 miles, establishing a world record that remains intact today. Although the scientific intention of the project was to analyze the composition of the Earth's crust, the Kola borehole has since gathered a collection of myths and unsettling stories. One of the most infamous stories is the so-called sounds of hell. According to this account, Soviet scientists reportedly dropped a heat-resistant microphone into the borehole and recorded alarming sounds, described as the agonized screams of souls imprisoned in hell. Although this legend became famous in the late 1980s, it was eventually shown to be a hoax, with the supposed audio linked to a horror film soundtrack. In 2013, Lotta Given traveled to a super deep hole to record what Earth sounds like from 30,000 feet below. They use recordings from a geophone, a device that measures ground movement, and an ultrasonic sensor that measures sound waves outside the range of human hearing. That data was then translated into audio by specialized software. The first time Given listened to the sound with proper headphones, she recalls feeling overwhelmed by what she heard. All the hair on my arm stood up straight, and if I hear it now again after many times, it still has the same effect on me, she says. The sound was like rumbling thunder, or the oncoming roar of a tornado ripping through the sky. Mysteries are important. They act as engines for new thoughts and ideas, Given said. Before we continue our exploration, if you're enjoying our journey through these chilling and mysterious locations, make sure to hit that like button. Your support helps us bring more intriguing content to you. And if you haven't already, subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you never miss an adventure into the unknown. We want to hear from you too. Share your thoughts in the comments below. What's the most disturbing location you've ever heard of? Let's keep the conversation going as we explore the mysteries of our world together. Now let's dive back into our list. 4. Villa Epecuen. Once a prosperous resort town in Argentina's Buenos Aires province, Villa Epecuen was famous for its therapeutic saltwater lake, which attracted visitors from all over the country looking for help with rheumatic ailments. Founded in the 1920s, the town experienced fast growth, reaching a population of 1,500 and having accommodations for thousands of tourists at its height in the 1970s. The prosperity of Villa Epecuen looked secure, thanks to its saltwater lake that provided health advantages and a beautiful retreat for Argentina's urban elite. Still, disaster hit in November 1985 when a powerful storm broke through the town's protective levee, permitting the salty waters of Lago Epecuen to flood the area. Over the next 2 weeks, the water rose persistently, submerging the town under nearly 30 feet. Residents had to leave their homes and businesses behind, without looking back as Villa Epecuen sank into the lake. The city was underwater for over 20 years, and its presence became a memory. In 2009, the waters finally started to pull back, uncovering the spectral remnants of the town. The once lively streets, houses, and hotels have now appeared, weathered by years of being underwater and covered in a thin layer of salt. The post-apocalyptic scene of dilapidated buildings, rusted automobiles, and lifeless trees has since made Villa Epecuen an unsettling attraction, pulling in photographers and tourists interested in its surreal aesthetics. Strikingly, Pablo Novak, a former resident, returned to live in the ruins after the waters had gone down. Until he died in January 2024, Novak was the only resident of the ghost town, acting as a living witness to the history of Villa Epecuen. 5. The Patomskiy Crater. Deep in the forests of southeastern Siberia, the Patomskiy Crater is a mysterious mound of shattered limestone that protrudes from the hillside vegetation. It has no clear origin. It changes shape and rises and falls as the years go by. The origins of this phenomenon are still obscure, leading to a variety of theories about its emergence. One of the first theories suggested that the crater came about from a meteorite impact, much like the famous Tunguska event that happened in 1908. Extensive searches for pieces of space debris have yielded no results, causing some researchers to doubt whether a meteorite was the culprit. A further theory proposes that the crater results from a volcanic eruption, but the lack of volcanic rock and usual signs of volcanic activity render this explanation improbable. The puzzle becomes more complex with the addition of unconventional theories. The indigenous group of the Irkutsk region, the Yakut, believed that this area is cursed. Supposedly, illness and death followed those who dared to venture there. A modern expedition led by geologist Eugeny Vorobiev seemed to substantiate this when Vorobiev died, presumably of a heart attack. Several people theorized that the Patomskiy Crater is proof of a UFO landing, pointing to its unusual design and the lack of obvious geological explanations. In 1949, a Russian geologist Vadim Kolpakov became the first outsider to come across it. According to the Siberian Times, the astonished Kolpakov described it as a perfectly shaped mount the size of a 25-story building with a chopped-off top sitting in the middle of the woods. Paradoxically, he also thought that it was an archaeological artifact, but not the work of a human. Several people have suggested that a secret nuclear test could have been the cause, but there is no substantial evidence to back this up. Researchers have noted irregular growth patterns in trees close to the crater. Trees near the crater exhibit quicker growth rates, much like the effects observed in radiation-exposed areas, such as Chernobyl. Still, no radiation has been found in the region, which has puzzled researchers. In wrapping up our exploration of the 5 most disturbing, mysterious locations on Earth, we've uncovered a tapestry of intrigue and eeriness that captivates the imagination. Each site, from the haunting remnants of abandoned towns to the depths of the unknown, serves as a reminder of the mysteries that still exist in our world. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the bizarre and the unexplained. If you found this video intriguing, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. What mysterious location fascinates you the most? Until next time, keep exploring the unknown.